This is called Voices from the Underground Railroad. And we open the book, and here's a map showing Jeb and Mattie's route to freedom. Havre de Grace, that's where the journey begins. The first safe house, then the Susquehanna River crossing, Columbia, Philadelphia, and up here to New Bedford. So, $200 reward, Jeb and Mattie, posted at the general store. All right, here we go. Jeb, tonight's the night. My sister Mattie's passed me the word. The auctioneer's comin'. We gotta go. Leave Maryland. Run to freedom like our brother Ben before it's too late. I used to be a field hand, but now I'm hired out to the blacksmith in town. I work hard, but get no pay. The master collects it. I have a friend, Samuel, who works there. He's free. He's got papers that say so. Samuel's part of the Underground Railroad, folks who help slaves go north. He told me how to find his place and promised to help when we was ready to run. The master'll sell me south just like he did Mama to help pay his gambling debts. Mama made Mattie and me promise we'd go. I still see her face, hear her wails, hear that gavel bang. Sold. Ain't gonna happen. Not again. Not to me, not to Mattie. Not gonna be sold like a pig or a plow. We gotta run. Mattie. It's time. We have to run. I heard the missus talk about the auction. She said Jeb's name, maybe me as well. Who knows? We can't wait and see. Folks say I'm lucky to be a house slave. Those folks have never been one. Missus screams at me, slaps me, hits me with a poker if the baby fusses. The twins won't mind or the master loses again. Gambling, I'm scared of him. Such a temper. Never know what he'll do next. I clean the fireplaces, empty the slop, mind the children. The baby Caroline sleeps through the night now. I sleep on the floor, next to her cradle. The twins have their own room. I can slip away. No one will miss me till morning. I'll miss the baby, so sweet and soft. She smiles for me, only one who does. But that's all I'll miss. Never a kind word, always afraid. I want to be free. We gotta go. Jeb. Mattie made it. I feared somebody'd hear her. We got no map, but there's the North Star, just like Mama said. If we get lost, we'll follow that star. We slip and slide up slopes and down, scramble through brush, duck low limbs, dodge branches, climb over logs, listen for footsteps following or dogs howling. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Mattie clutches me. My heart lurches. I look around. Just a hoot owl, I say. Never been off the place before, Mattie mutters. What if we get caught like Julian? Brought back in chains, beaten till his back bled. Then he had to wear that iron rack with bells on his head. Can't think about Julian, I say. Think about Ben. He got away. Got to New Bedford. That's where we're going. I miss Ben, Mattie says. I loved to hear him whistle. Remember Hush, Little Baby? Oh, we're here. Samuel's house, I tell Mattie. I rap 3 times. And hope. Samuel, conductor. Someone's knocking. Someone in trouble. I peer through the glass. It's Jeb and his sister. You're going, I say. I open the door and hurry them in. My wife shuts the curtains. Sit down, I'll get you something to eat. We had to go, Jeb explains. They was going to sell me south. I wasn't leaving Mattie behind. Soon as you've eaten, I need you to move on, I tell them. We're watched by bounty hunters. Not safe to keep you here for long. I'll take you to the nearest station. What's a station, asks Mattie. It's a safe place to hide folks, I say. We use railroad words as a kind of code. Amos might be next, Jeb says. When he came into the blacksmith yesterday, he said his master died and he might have to run. Have you moved many on? Jeb asks. About 30, I tell them. What happens if you get caught? Jail, I say, and a fine, maybe worse. My wife puts out hot tea, bread, and slices of ham. We eat, And then we go. Clorinda, mistress of Oakland. Gone, I shriek. Mattie's gone. The baby's wet and hungry. Quiet, thunders my husband Seth and gives me a swat. If Mattie's run, Jeb's run too. I'll go see. I'm Mrs. of Oakland. Papa left the house and the slaves to me. But then I married Seth. Didn't know he's a gambler, has a filthy temper, and likes the ladies. Now we have to have an auction to pay off his debts. Gone, says Seth as he comes back with Flint, our overseer. Blast their black hides. They've run away just like their brother Ben. Slave catchers will get them, says Flint. Look at Julian. We caught him. All the slaves saw what you did to Julian, I say, and still they run. Wait till these two feel my 100 lashes, says Flint. His eyes glitter. He snaps his whip. They're my property, says Seth. And it was mine, I say to myself. The two of them would have brought $500. I'll hire slave catchers, put out an ad, says Seth, then go to that blacksmith where Jeb worked. Those two can't have gotten far. Maybe the blacksmith heard something, I say, or maybe he hides them hisself, sneers Flint. Elijah, station master. Tap, tap, tap. Who's there? I call softly. A friend with friends, comes the reply. I open the door to a young lad and a girl, hurry the pair in and sit them in the kitchen. Samuel slips away. Thee is welcome, my wife says, but it won't be long till folks know thee is gone. Follow me, I say. I take up a rug, lift 3 floorboards, and beckon. This is thy hiding place. There are pallets on the floor for sleeping. The girl gasps. I hand her a lantern. It's dark there, but safe, I tell her. The two grope their way down the stone staircase to the root cellar below. Rest now, I say. We'll eat and talk later. That afternoon, my son Thomas and I go out to the barn, saddle my horse, and ride into town. There they are, slave catchers, an abomination to mankind. They're posting an ad in the window of the general store. We keep riding. Blacksmith operative. The door to my blacksmith shop opens. 3 men stride in. It's Seth, owner of Oakland, with slave catchers Rufus and Angus. I know them well. Good afternoon, I say. What can I do for you? Looking for my property, Jeb and his sister Mattie, says Seth. You know Jeb. He worked here. He and his sister have run off just like their brother before them. You hear anything? See them? Or are they hidden here, says Angus. We know free coloreds hide slaves. I haven't seen them. You're welcome to look, I say calmly. The men stomp around the forge where the fire burns and the smoke rises. I follow them to the barn. They stab the hay with a pitchfork, stride out to the stables, check the stalls. We'll be watchin', says Angus. We always get 'em, says Rufus, and the two ride off. Samuel must have moved them on. I'll get word to Elijah. The hunt's begun. Jeb, we've been here with the Quakers for 3 days now. These folks hid us, fed us, gave us different clothes. I work in their barn with their son Thomas. Mattie helps with the baby. Thee is so brave, Thomas says. I don't know if I could. I say, we've been lucky so far. Your father thinks it's time to move us on, out of reach of those slave catchers. After supper, the missus gives us both a sack of food. For thy journey, she says. We'll never forget you, Mattie says. Godspeed, she replies. Thomas leads the way to the river. A man is waiting in a flat-bottomed boat. We're going across the Susquehanna, he says. Thomas gives me a smooth river stone. For luck, he says. I gulp. I can't swim, but I have to be brave for Mattie. We get in the boat. It tilts from side to side. Off we go. Mattie. After the crossing, we start up the river, keep close to the bank. Now our guide rows more slowly, quietly. It's spooky dark. We glide along. Suddenly our conductor puts his finger to his lips. Voices up ahead. I help slide the boat into the bushes. We scramble up the bank, hide in the brush. A light flashes back and forth. They're coming closer. I can hardly breathe. My hands are ice cold. I grab Jeb's shirt, shut my eyes, hold tight. They must hear my heart hammering. My chest feels like it will explode. Will they see us? Will they take us back? Angus and Rufus, slave catchers. The river's a highway for runaways, says Angus. We caught 4 last week. Dumb darkies, snorts Rufus. They think they'll be safe once they get to Pennsylvania because it's a free state. We have to get that Jeb and Mattie who ran from Oakland, Angus says. They can't have gotten too far. Their owner is a mean one, says Rufus. Beats his wife, cheats at cards. Angus nods. Seth'll be wanting them back all right. He needs the money. Rufus swings the lantern so it shines up and down the river. Up and down. They couldn't just vanish, Angus says. But their brother did, says Rufus. We never found him. Folks say he got on the Underground Railroad and disappeared. Well, this river's not underground. If they're here, we'll catch 'em, vows Angus. He stands up in the boat, shines the lantern back and forth on the riverbank, back and forth. Nothing stirs. The only sound is the slap, slap, slap of the oars. Jeb. Too risky on the river right now, our guide says softly. Follow the water. Keep away from the bank. When you come to the stone house, knock. They'll say, "Who goes there?" You say, "William Penn." Our conductor disappears into the dark. We pick our way along the river. Brambles tear at our arms and faces. "What's that?" asks Mattie. "Shh," I say. We crouch where we are. I squeeze my lucky stone. Dogs! I hate dogs! Slave catchers sometimes use them to hunt fugitives. We wait, we watch, we listen. No voices, just dogs growling and howling. I whisper, they hear us, but I think they're penned. We walk slowly at first, then faster. There it is, the stone house. I knock and wait. "Who goes there?" "William Penn," I say. A young girl leads us to the stable. We sink into the hay and sleep. The next morning, a new conductor appears. "Welcome to Pennsylvania," he says. "We'll go in the Dearborn." He points to a small carriage. We climb up. He pulls the curtains and gets in the driver's seat. We begin again. Conductor. Stockholder. A Dearborn pulls into our lumber yard. Must be new parcels to go on the train. A boy and girl step down. "Where are you headed?" I ask the pair. "New Bedford," says the girl. "Our brother Ben is there." "I'll send word to the Vigilance Committee in Philadelphia," I say to them. "We'll get you there." "On a real railroad?" the girl asks. "A real train," I smile. "We can hide you in a boxcar." "How many of you helped escape?" the boy asks. "Hundreds," I say. I send some to Pittsburgh and others to Philadelphia in our cars. Last week we hid 12. Finally, those no-goods left to look elsewhere. "We have to be more careful now," I say. "The new fugitive slave law forces everyone to help a constable and bounty hunters capture runaways." My nephew shows the 2 their secret compartment. I get packages of food for the journey. "Safe travels," I say. "Everyone should be free." I wish them well. Mattie. We ride a long time. At last the train slows, then stops. We inch out and look around. A man is waiting with a wagon. He says, "New Bedford?" We nod. He beckons. Big clay jars are in the wagon. He pushes the straw aside, slides open the false bottom. Jeb and I climb into the opening. It's dark in the hidey hole. Hard to breathe. We can hear him moving the jars over us. We start off. "Halt!" comes a shout. "Where are you going?" asks a harsh voice. "Philadelphia," our conductor says. "I'm taking the pottery there." "Look at all that straw. Let's see what's there," says one man. "Straw protects the jars," our driver says. I clutch Jeb. "Don't let them find us. Don't let them find us," I say to myself again and again. We hear the 2 climb up, kick the straw. Crash! "You broke it," says the driver. We barely breathe. "Let's go," mutters one of the men. "We'll be watching when you come back," says the other. $500 fine plus jail for helping a slave escape. The wagon lurches. and we start again. Jeb, finally we stop. The board over our hidey hole is lifted. Philadelphia! We uncurl and limp into an open back door. A couple wait. The woman says, "Welcome, sit a spell and eat. You've had a long ride. Your steamer will sail in 2 days." "Why New Bedford?" the man asks. "Our brother Ben went last year," I say, "but we don't know where he lives." "We know others who have gone there," the man says. "We'll send word ahead. Ask about Ben. When you arrive, go to Deacon Bush. Turn left on Water Street. It's near the wharf. He has a grocery store and a boarding house. He and his wife help new arrivals." "Slave catchers don't tarry in that town," says the woman. "There's a Liberty Bell. If trouble's brewing, folks ring that bell." A big crowd appears, ready to fight. Those bounty hunters flee. Next day, there's a tapping at the door. 2 women come in. They hand us clean clothes, tickets for the steamship, and an envelope with money from the Vigilance Committee to help you get started in your new life. A new life. Think of it. Mattie. Early in the morning, we go to the Arch Street wharf where the steamship waits. Our guide takes us to a crew member who hurries us into the hold. It's crowded with boxes, barrels, and freight. "Hide here till we leave port, then you can come up on deck," he says. "Bounty hunters sometimes board the ship when we stop." The whistle blows. In the distance we hear church bells chiming. The steamship jolts, then glides forward. At first, the trip goes smoothly. Sunny days follow one another. We sleep on deck or on top of a trunk or a box in the hold. Suddenly, a storm comes up. So does my supper. The ship heaves from side to side. Jeb and I go down in the hold. Barrels roll, trunks slide, boxes crash. Rain lashes the deck. Thunder booms, lightning flashes. The waves are high as houses. I hold on so I won't slide into the sea. There is no safe place to be. I wonder, will we drown before we get there? Jeb. The crewman comes. "New Bedford's next," he says. The ship pulls into Steamship Wharf. We stumble off on wobbly legs. A crowd waits. We search the faces to find the one we know. He isn't here. "Do you think we'll find him?" asks Mattie. "I hope so. At least we got here," I say. "So many people helped," Mattie says. "Samuel took us to Elijah. He sent us up the river. We hid from slave catchers, rode a real railroad, crammed into the hidey hole on the wagon I had, sailed in the steamship from Philadelphia, and that storm. We made it through the storm." On Water Street, we turn left and watch for a grocery store. Black people and white people are out and about. No one looks afraid, but there's no sign of Ben. Here's the store. "Jeb, Mattie," asks the man behind the counter. "We got word you were coming. I'm Deacon Bush. Welcome to New Bedford. You'll be safe here," adds his wife. Suddenly, we hear someone whistling. "Hush, little baby." Could it be? The door opens. "Ben! Ben!" we shriek. "You made it," Ben says. "From Maryland to Massachusetts. Mama would be so proud." Mrs. Bush smiles. "Come freshen up. Have supper. We all want to hear your story." And what a story it is. Now, if you would like to pause and read all these historical notes, you may. The Underground Railroad is the story of courageous freedom seekers who many times left the only place they had ever known, their friends and even families, to escape from their owners. And it goes on and has railroad terminology: the station or safe house, the conductor, the operative, stockholder, parcel, abolitionist. Then the Fugitive Slave Acts of 1793 and 1850, different routes. Anyway, aren't we glad that there was the Underground Railroad that helped so many people who were in such dire circumstances? We are grateful for that. If you want, pause and read this as well. More about the role of the churches and the final destinations, and other things, history revision and conclusion. And the Underground Railroad is a story of hope for human beings who were being cruelly misused by other human beings. It is true that treatment of the enslaved varied, but in all cases to consider people as property, like an animal or a table, is unthinkable in this, our free land of liberty. So that, my friends, was the story of Voices from the Underground Railroad and Jeb and Mattie's adventures. So hope you enjoyed it. I hope you subscribe. I hope you subscribe and that this is a channel that meets your needs. There are lots of great playlists as well. Come back often. We'll see you next time on Stories with Grandma.